The Igbo culture opposes the right of women, or rather, views women as precious, members of the society that ought to be preserved and protected with all might.
Rather, the man, while alive or when he is dead, if he's alive and does not have a male child, he can marry another wife. If the reason why he doesn't have a child is due to his incapability of pregnanting a woman, the woman can get pregnant somewhere, either in the family or outside the family.
Located in the western side of Africa, Nigeria is a country with 36 states, including the FCT, 6 geopolitical zones, and over 250 ethnic groups. One of these ethnic groups is the Igbo, cultural group. These people and their practices have struck some level of misconception and confusion, which has sparked conversations on social media. Some people, out of misunderstanding or not understanding some of their practices, have made certain opinions that have, caused some level of rancor on the social media space. And one of that conversation is, do Igbo fathers marry their daughters? Yes, do Igbo fathers marry their daughters? Now, these questions have been in the mind of non-Igbo speaking individuals, as they don't understand the concept of having a daughter stay back home to bear children in the name of her father. This will be our major conversation on today's episode of the Fifth Estate Live. And of course, I am your host, Hope Williams, and this is coming to you from the studios of Akweya TV, your #1 broadcast channel that brings you stories on history, arts, and culture, analyzing how they affect our development as individuals and as a society. Don't forget to like and share this video, and also leave a comment in the comment section, and let's go into the conversation. However, before we dive into the conversation of today, let's talk about food. Yes, let's talk about food. So, a little gossip, right? Yeah, let me give you a brief story of how I got to work this morning. So as usual, I have arranged my transport and I was coming to work, and then I took keke to the office. And then when I alighted, I gave the keke man the usual fee, and the man said, no, madam. Saruga, they leave you, it is remaining 200. I was like, the guy knows who I know, from here to here now, how am I giving you 200? So we had this back and forth, and the guy was like, madam, you know that fuel has added price. And I was like, come on now, calm down. It's too early, let's not do this. He said, no, I'm telling you the truth. Fuel has added price. I'm like, okay. So as per who I be, I quickly picked up my phone and I checked online. How much is the new fuel price? Genge, 1,030 naira in FCT. I don't know other states, but I do know that fuel has increased prices across the country. So I just to make I do public announcements. If you work for Abuja, if you live for Abuja, and you know, so normally, 1,000 naira they carry you go beggar. Bros, I better hold 1, 2. If na 1, 2, if they carry go area 1, I better hold 1, 5 for pocket. If not, you will trek, you will waka, you will trek, and you will do exodus. No, sir, I don't tell you. I just want us to know that our transport fare has increased because fuel price has increased. So let's get ready to even buy food at a high rate. It is well. I wish I can say it will get better, but I think we have to tie our belts for more to come. Yes. So to the conversation proper, do Igbo fathers marry their daughters? On social media, people have different opinions with regards to this conversation. Some persons have said, oh, Igbo fathers do not marry their daughters. No, 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 it is a taboo. But the Igbo culture permits a daughter to stay back home to bear sons in the name of her father. The Igbo culture also permits a widow to marry a wife who will bear children for her. The Igbo culture permits a wife who cannot bear kids to marry another wife to bear children for her husband. So these and many more have been the conversation on social media. However, for the sake of clarity and correcting the misconceptions in the social media space, we took our time to speak to some Igbo elites, some traditional men who gave us clarity on this topic. Yes, they took their time to elaborate on what this whole concept is about. We'll be hearing from a traditional custodian. Yes, he does what we call Ibafa, like the way you have the Ifa priest and all, from Abia State, and he's going to share his opinion on this topic. Let's listen to Mazi Chizo.
You don't do anything like that.
Okay.
The man does not have to perform anything. The girl does not have to marry a lady in the compound and stay like a son. Rather, the man, while alive or when he's dead, if he's alive and does not have a male child, he can marry another wife. If the reason why he doesn't have a child is due to his incapability of pregnanting a woman, the woman can get pregnant somewhere, either in the family or outside the family. But a man who has given birth to a female child could as well give birth to a male child. So most of these things happen after the man must have died. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So if the man dies and the children so decide that we will marry a woman into this compound, or the brothers say, our brother will not die and his name will be erased off the surface of the earth, we will not have to marry a woman here that will stay here, take care of his properties, and let's see if by God's willing, business are not by man made. If by God's willing, if she can give birth to a male child who will represent or stay in our brother's name. Okay. The woman is being married into the compound. She stays there, takes care of herself with the husband's property, and by God's willing, she gives birth to a male child that bears the name of the husband. And it is legal in Igbo culture.
Okay, so that is Mazi Chizo, all the way from Isialangwa, Abia State. He actually shared his opinion, telling us that the Igbo culture permits a man to converse with his daughter or one of his daughters to, convince this child to stay back and bear him sons in a situation where he has no son. So it has to do with consent. They have to discuss this and agree. However, we have another Igbo elite who gave us an in-depth, explanation on how this is done. In his words, he said there are some traditional practices where the father of the said lady has to perform some traditional rites, which I guess is a place where the misconception is coming from, as this man has to take drinks to his umunna, that is his kinsmen, to inform them that, oh, this daughter of mine has to stay back and bear me sons. So I guess that is where people say, oh, because of course in the Igbo culture, before you marry a woman, you have to do the wine carrying. But these elites took their time to explain what the wine carrying in this regard meant. They clarified that this is to ensure that nobody discriminates against them, and it brings them to that capacity where they act as men and marry a wife for themselves. So let's listen to what they have to say.
Topic. First and foremost, people need to understand the place of women in the Igbo culture. The Igbo culture opposes the right of women, or rather, views women as precious, members of the society that ought to be preserved and protected with all might. This gives reasons to why the Umu Ada institution in Igbo land remains the strongest institution in our traditional Igbo culture. Umuada, in the sense, means women who are of their father's house, but either married away to husbands or by culture, as it relates to today's topic, remains legitimate members of their father's community or family. What do I mean by that? If in Igbo culture, and there is need for continuity, especially in terms of lineage, where a man bore only a female child or female children, there is room and provision for that man, if he wants, to convince one of the daughters to either remain as a bona fide male object of that family. This means that the man will now perform some traditional rites that will give full right to her daughter, to his daughter, to be confirmed or considered a man, which means that the woman will now have the right to go out there and marry a fellow woman to bear children for her. In terms of the example I just mentioned, the man in question will call his umunna and brief them of his decision. From there, they will now proceed to perform some ritual rites that will now confirm that particular woman to have the status of a man in that particular umunna, in that particular kindred and village, as the case may be. Having done that, that will now bring her up to equal right and status with other male children called Nwafo or Nwafo, which means anybody trying to stigmatize or discriminate against her as a woman will be liable to some punishments or some fine as prescribed by individual Igbo traditional laws and settings. Now, when this woman has now assumed the full status of a man, she will now have the right, just like as a man, to go out and marry a fellow woman. Now, what it means that the would-be wife will come in bearing, because she is doing this on behalf of her father. Take note of this. So, which means the father's name will continue, to progress, which is actually the main reason why that tradition is performed in the first place.
So there you have it. I hope that this gives you clarity. Yes. So it is wrong to make certain assertions with respect to people's cultural practices, especially when you do not understand it. Like stated earlier, Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups. And as large as this number is, we share some level of similarities, especially those of us from the Southeast and South-South, share some level of similarities in our cultural practices. However, I believe that in Nigeria, whatever ethnic group we are from, it is, against the tradition of the land for a father to marry his daughter. So, Igbo fathers do not marry their daughters. However, there is a cultural practice in Igbo land that permits a father to convince his daughter to stay back and bear him sons so that his name and lineage do not come to an end. Yes, so his name and lineage do not come to an end. And in a situation where a widow, could not bear children for her husband before he passed, she has the backing of the tradition and custom of the land to marry a wife who comes in and bear children that will bear her name and that of her husband, that will refer to her as Nne, that is mother. And also in a situation where the man is late, his daughters can also do that on behalf of their mother. So Igbo fathers do not marry their daughters, but the tradition permits women to marry wives for themselves who can bear children, for their late husbands or for their fathers. But however, there is a need to note that consent is the main ingredient in this conversation. These women have to seek the consent of the necessary persons involved. In this case, in a situation where the daughter has to stay back to bear children for her father, the father has to convince her and get her consent first before going to the kinsmen. Or in a situation where a woman has to marry a wife for her late husband or for her husband who is still alive, she needs the consent of either the man if he's alive or the man's family members, that is the immediate and extended family members, before such can be done, because they will need the backing of the family so they can perform the necessary traditional rituals to enable her, do this so she does not fault the laws of the land. Till we come your way again next time. I hope that this has been a wonderful conversation for you. Give me your opinion in the comment section. What have you heard about the Igbo cultural practice, the Yoruba cultural practices, the Hausa cultural practice, the Idoma, the Bini? What have you heard about some of their cultural practices that almost does not make sense to you? Those things you heard about the cultural practices of a certain ethnic group that almost doesn't make sense to you, and you're wondering, does this really happen? Trust me, I have a lot of them that I do not understand. And I'm hoping that in due time I can meet with someone who is grounded in the cultures of these places so they can explain better to me. So you don't, go out there and say things and people find it very insulting. And this is because you don't understand what this is about. Yes. So let's know those things that you are wondering why they are happening in the first place. So we can all, find a way to clear up our confusion and misconceptions with respect to the cultural practices of different ethnic groups in Nigeria. Of course, I'm your host, Hope Williams, and don't forget to like and share this video and also subscribe to our channel. Don't also forget to click on the notification bell so you're notified whenever we make a post. And do also follow us on all our social media platforms. Till we come your way again next time, no say fuel don't add price. So if you dey comot, make you go extra money. If not, you go track, you will check, and you will waka until you turn exodus. No say I no tell you. You have a great day. Bye bye.